he tried his best with a very challenging environment. His plan was kind of audacious to skip, what they call 4 nodes. That is 4 process process manufacturing nodes or manufacturing processes. That's really tough to do. Now TSMC's done this stepwise. Every 2 years, right? They move to a new node. Where Intel got stuck at 10 nanometers and couldn't move, and now they want to jump ahead to less than 2 nanometer process. That was just right off the bat, just a very tough row to hoe, no doubt.
So Intel has hardly made a dent in TSMC's dominance as a chip manufacturer. In terms of strategic direction now, you believe, John, that Intel needs to give up its chip manufacturing ambitions and move to a more asset-light model. That inevitably means asset sales, and TSMC are going to be a buyer of those assets?
Well, that's an interesting question. I definitely think that they're going to, I think they should pursue an asset-light path, a fabless path. Whether they do or not, and I think they probably will. I mean, I think this is a good indication. The interim chairman of the board of directors yearly said, we want a more nimble, a more agile Intel, which kind of implies, a fabless model. Now, what do they do with their fabs? Maybe they sell them to TSMC, maybe they sell them to a private equity investor, like what AMD did with Global Foundries back in the day when they did that split. It's tough to say, but it's clear that the CapEx requirements, that needed to keep up with TSMC, the CHIPS Act, they get 7.6 or about $7.5 billion, call it $7.5 billion, in grants, but TSMC is spending $30 billion a year in CapEx. So it's really tough to compete with that. And it's just also from a technical perspective, once you're behind, it's really tough to catch up, which Intel benefited from for many decades. There's a sort of a feedback loop that keeps the leader in place. And now that has switched over, that's why I think it's really tough for them to sort of reestablish even parity with TSMC at this point.
When you take a look at the share price of Intel since Gelsinger took over, I mean, it's absolutely tanked, and it's a pity that they missed this AI-driven demand surge in the way that NVIDIA captured it beautifully and has absolutely skyrocketed during the same period. Where does Intel's share price go from here, do you think?
Well, it's tough to say. I mean, we don't do shorting or anything like that, but turnarounds like this are not easy. And it might get a little rougher before, even if it gets best, even if it works, the plan works out in the end, it's going to be a multi-year plan to transform the company. In that period of time, man, there might be some really rough quarters for CPU demand relative to GPU demand, which is what NVIDIA sells. All of these guys who are building data centers are looking to build them on GPUs. And in fact, there's a lot of effort now to figure out how to do all of the old workloads, that is not the AI workloads, but all of the old workloads, using GPUs so that you don't even have to spend on classic x86 CPUs, which is Intel's bread and butter. I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a speculative call there, but that's like I said, it's going to be a little rough. That transition is going to be rough. There's no doubt about it.